Happy Easter! We're going to make Easter dinner, and we're going to make a gratin potato with smoked gouda. It's really simple and so delicious, super decadent. And then we're also going to have ham with a honey mustard sauce and salad with a honey shallot vinaigrette. This is fairly simple to do, so it shouldn't be too hard, and you can scale it up or down depending on how big of a crowd you're going to have. This will be about enough for 4 to 6 people, just depending on how much you eat. So we're going to start off with peeling the potatoes. And I like to just use the bag they came in, or whatever I'm making. If there's ever a bag, I keep it for a garbage bag. I preheated the oven to 350, so do that before you start. You know what? I do like to wear gloves, so I'm going to grab my gloves. Always start off with clean hands, and then put on gloves if you want to. If you ever do something dirty with the gloves, you have to change them out. Things like handling raw meat or eggs or cleaning up something off the floor. And then if you want, you can pop out these little eyes that are left in there. Or any kind of brown part, you can use this little scoop on the end or cut it with your knife. Also, besides washing your hands before you start, and you may know this, but the people who don't, I would rather say it, you also want to pull your hair back, because even though you think stray hairs won't get in it, somehow it does a lot of times. So just be safe and pull your hair back. We're not going to rinse them after we cut them, but I am going to rinse them after this initial peel, because this has a little bit of the dirt from the skin. You'd hate to get dirt in your potato. But we want to not rinse them after we cut them, because this will help to thicken up and add starch to the au gratin potatoes. Okay, get a bowl ready. You want to slice these fairly thin, just because they cook a little better. They're easier to eat this way. And this recipe is so good with steak. It's just a really good recipe because it has a lot of cheese, and it will have whipping cream in it, the heavy cream. It's definitely not something you want to eat all the time, but it's just so easy. You can do it with cheddar cheese or the smoked gouda. I'm sure other cheeses too, but it's just so simple and good. Pan ready. You don't need to grease it. Just have it ready to pour potatoes into. We are going to do 1 cup of shredded smoked Gouda. This is basically a cup, so you should assume that they've measured it correctly, and it's a cup. Always shake heavy cream very well. So dump that in there. Guys, this is literally the easiest gratin potato recipe that I've ever tried. Okay, we are going to do 1 teaspoon of salt. This is sea salt, but any kind of salt really. Some are more potent than others, so you decide how much you think. But we're going to do 1 teaspoon on that. And then we're going to do a 1/2 teaspoon of white pepper. You can do regular black pepper if you'd like. And all we do is stir this around. Kind of break up that cheese before you stir it in. I packed it into the cup, so might need to be broke up just a little bit. But just do a quick stir on this. Just stir that around, breaking up that cheese, stirring in the salt and pepper, just to spread it around evenly. Just stir it until you feel like you're not seeing the pepper or the cheese lumped in big clumps. It will be a little bit together, don't worry about that. Okay, and then you put it in a pan about 1 inch thick. This one looks like it's going to be maybe about 2 inches thick, but we're going to go with it. Spread this out evenly. We're just going to cover it with foil, put it in the oven. So we're going to put it in the oven for about 1 hour, but we are going to check it and stick a fork in it, see if the potatoes are tender. That's how you will know it's done. And also at the end, we're going to put grated parmesan on the top. Just sprinkle it lightly along the top and then put it under the broiler, and it adds this little crust, and it's so good. You can't skip that. Moving on, we are going to put our ham in the oven, but we're gonna prep it first. It's going to go into the same oven that the potatoes are in, but we're going to get this ready. So the ham is fully cooked. We just want to warm it completely through. So we're going to wrap it in some foil, put it in a dish, and just set it aside to put into the oven at about the 30-minute mark. You want to put it in the oven about 12 minutes per pound at 350. Okay, while those are cooking, we are going to make the sauce for the ham. And then we're also going to make the salad dressing. We're going to do 1/4 cup mayonnaise. We are going to do a tablespoon of honey. Now we're going to use yellow mustard for this. We're just going to eyeball this also. We're going to do 1/2 tablespoon, or about 2 teaspoons. Okay, and then that's it. We are just going to whisk this together. This is the simplest sauce. It's so delicious. It's great on sandwiches, all kinds of stuff. So you want to make sure that honey gets incorporated, so stir it around for a little bit. But it's just so smooth and delicious with the ham. Here is the honey mustard Okay guys, we're moving on. We're going to prep some stuff for the salad. Okay, so this is going to be for the salad. It's a cucumber. I just rinsed it. I'm going to dry it off just so it doesn't bring extra moisture and water to the salad. You want to try to drain and dry the salad ingredients as much as possible because it will water down the salad dressing, making it not quite as enjoyable on every salad, just so you know. So we're going to slice it in half, and then we're just going to do half slices. Almost like the potato. And this is a very simple salad. You can add or take away. There's going to be leftover dressing, and so you can be enjoying the salad for weeks. Okay, I think this little container will hold it all. We'll have to see though. Okay, and you'll want to keep this refrigerated until it's time to serve the salad. Okay, and the reason why I sliced that right now is because we are going to slice a shallot, which is a type of an onion. And if you cut onion on something and then cut something else, the next thing will have the flavor of the onion. And so try to cut other things first and then the onion. And then if you use a wooden cutting board and you cut an onion, you should make that an onion dedicated cutting board because that will not come out of the wood. On a plastic one, it does once you run it through the dishwasher, but the wood one, it won't. So growing up, my mom always had a wooden cutting board for onions. I like to use the plastic for it and cut it the last on there, or switch out boards after I've done the onion. So with the shallot, peel off the skin, the papery type skin. And then I just keep that same garbage bag going I had earlier. For me, it's easy. You could throw this in your sink and then throw it into the garbage, or just take the cutting board over to the garbage. It's up to you. So I'm going to slice off this end. I'm going to cut it in half. I think that will be easier for us. By the way, we are going to blend this, so don't worry too much if it's not completely even and uniform. Just going to help. The immersion blender is what I'm going to use. You can use just a regular blender. Really careful. Onions get slippery, so watch out for your fingers during this. And then a shallot is different than just a normal onion, so you actually should get shallot when it calls for it. You could always substitute onion, but it is a different thing. Okay, before I put that in there, so we have about, I would say that's between a third and a half of a cup. But in this measuring cup that we're going to blend everything together, we are going to put some cider vinegar. Okay, and then I do have my immersion blender nearby, but we're going to do 1/4 of a cup, so let's measure that in first. And you're supposed to get eye level with the measuring cup because from different angles it will look different. Okay, that is it. And then we're going to do 3/4 cup oil. You can use vegetable oil, canola oil, pretty much any oil. I'm going to use avocado oil. It's what I use most. It's supposed to be healthier, but things always seem to change. But that's what I've been using. Okay, so measure it up to the 1 cup because we already have a 1/4. So yeah, 3/4 oil. It should now be up to the 1 cup total liquids. And then we're going to put in 1/4 cup honey. This one's going to be trickier. Okay, well, it's pouring pretty well. Sometimes it's thick. Okay. And then 1 tablespoon Dijon mustard. Okay. All right. Now we're going to stir this together. I'm going to use a fork. A whisk might be better, but we are going to use the immersion blender, so I think in the end it will all be mixed up. Okay, I feel that's pretty good. And then we're going to add these shallots. Okay, now mine has different speeds. If yours doesn't, you want to pulse at first so that you don't just fly it out of the cup. Also, not all measuring cups are the same, so you want a nice tall one, and that will help you to not make as big of a mess. If it's wider, it will kind of go up the side and splash out. Okay. Now, see if I can leave it in there. Okay. We are going to taste test. I'm sure this is going to need some salt and pepper, but we're going to see how it is right now. Yeah, definitely needs some salt and pepper. We're going to start out with 1/4 teaspoon. And then just a little shake of the white pepper. Probably was about 1/4 teaspoon of the white pepper. And get another spoon and taste test. If you don't feel you've stirred it around enough, make sure it is, because you want to see how every bite's going to taste. Okay, I think we want another 1/4 teaspoon. Salad dressing should be quite potent because it's going to dilute in the salad. So you don't want it to be perfect. You want it to be a little strong on its own so that in the salad it stands out. And then another spoon just to check. I feel good with that. See? Okay. So we're going to pour it into this container. Then we want to make sure we shake well before we serve. We're going to refrigerate though. While that's in the oven, you'll want to set your table. Mine, I just have a white plate, a yellow tablecloth, and then I have this little napkin my mom made and crocheted. And so I have these little napkins just because they look like spring with the flowers on it. And cups I filled all the way up with ice and filled with water. That way, when it's time to have dinner, they're ready to go and not all the way full of ice, but the ice hasn't melted completely. And on this, I'm not sure if you can see, I have a little bunny placemat in the middle where we're going to set some of our items. We have salt and pepper in the back, a little votive candle going, and some flowers just to remind us of spring. What else you'll want to get on there is some water to refill. I will put the salad dressing on here also. And then we're good to go on that for now. Okay, so we have a few things going on. Our ham has come out. Our salad, let's get that in the bowl and ready to toss. It's up to you whether or not you want to toss your salad. I like to toss it. You might not want to throw more lettuce than what you think you'll use in it, because afterwards you will have to discard because it does get soggy. And this is just a spring mix. And you want to do this right before serving, so I'm not going to do it right now. Get the cucumbers in there, and then you want to add the dressing, not the whole bottle that we made, just a good amount, and then you'll want to stir it. When you toss, just kind of go down, turn, and come out. Or use a really big bowl. But you can kind of get good at stirring in place. So we have the salad ready to go. Now be careful if your hands are sensitive. This will be hot. We're going to cut the ham, and I have a platter here to put it on. This is going to be our serving fork. And then just do some thin slices. And don't worry if it's not perfect. Number one, it's never going to be perfect, but also practice makes perfect. So don't beat yourself up if you're not good at slicing things. Biggest thing is keep your knife straight, perpendicular to the cutting board. So just try to keep an eye on that as it goes down, and just kind of view what you're doing with the meat. You might have to adjust it slightly as you go down. But just with anything, over time you'll get better, and honestly, who cares? Now these last ones are going to be much harder to cut than the first ones. Okay, I think that's about as good as we can do. And we're going to put those ones that aren't as cute on the bottom, and just kind of spread them out on our tray. I'm just going to rinse this fork and put it back on the tray. And there's enough room on here to probably put our sauce. So we will do that. Here is our ham. Get that on the table. And our potatoes should be done. And you don't want to cut your ham unless you know your potatoes are done. I checked them once and it seemed like it was almost done. So this should be good. Also at the same time, you're going to want to start your broiler on your oven. Also, be protective of your countertops if you have something that is sensitive to heat. You don't want to ruin your countertops. So here are our potatoes. This grated parmesan. You sprinkle it on the top, give it a kind of a good layer. And then we're going to put it under the broiler, and you have to watch it very carefully. It doesn't take long for it to brown up and then burn. So we want to catch it right in that browning up, toasty. And it just adds this little crusty crunch on top. It's so good. Really, don't skip this. That looks about good. We're gonna throw it in there, and that will just get a nice crust over it. Oh, I wanted to show you. You do want to make sure that potatoes, before you do what I just did, you want to poke them and just make sure that this goes in easily, which it does. I mean, this will go straight to the bottom. It's nice and tender. Put it back in the oven under the broiler without the foil. So, here it is. Hopefully you can kind of see that little crust on top. So, it's, I don't know if you can hear that, but it's just so good. You should not skip that step. This is all done. Let's get it on the table. And this is hot, so be careful. You might want to leave the oven mitts at the table for people if they need to pass. But our setup, it shouldn't need to pass.